Hey everyone, it's Justin from Who Is Like You Ministries, and I am back with another video. Now, for this one, I was really debating doing another Is It Biblical, where I review movies, Bible movies, and see how close they are to the actual Bible story. And I was going to do the old Ten Commandments one from the 50s or 60s, but I just realized that that movie is almost 4 hours long, 3 or 4 hours long, and I'm going to need some more time to prepare for that one. Not just because I need to read up on the story, but just because it's such a long movie. So I'll probably do that one in parts, to be honest. But for this one, I decided to talk about something that is really a really big part in the apologetics community, especially towards atheists and maybe agnostics. It's called the Kalam Cosmological Argument. Now, you may recognize this name. It's made really... There was a cosmological argument in history. It was created by the Muslims, but William Lane Craig coined the term Kalam Cosmological Argument, and I believe it's from an Islamic guy named Kalam. Anyway, he's the most known Christian who talks about this argument. It's a way to prove that philosophically that the universe has to have been created by a creator, and it couldn't have just come from nothing. And if there was a Big Bang, it couldn't have the matter couldn't have been eternal, and the Big Bang couldn't have started from nothing. There had to be a higher being that created everything, whether that's Big Bang or no Big Bang. The first premise is that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Premise number 2, the universe began to exist. Conclusion, or premise 3, the universe had a cause. So now let me go a little bit more into detail about the 3 points that I just made. So everything we know of, including the universe, has had a cause. Think of anything from automobiles to computers to paintings. All of these had a cause. This can be linked with another argument called the teleological argument, which I'll talk about in another video. It's the same with biology. You see a person or an animal and you automatically assume that he, she, it was birthed or created. Even if you go back to the very first single-celled organism in an evolutionary view, that was created. It wasn't eternally existent. At one point or another, something was created. Premise 2, the universe began to exist. Whether you believe that God created the universe or the universe came from the Big Bang, as I said earlier, the result is the same. It began to exist. If you dispute this, then you have to address how an infinite past is possible. However, there's no such thing as an actual infinite in time or space. An infinite number of anything does not exist. So in order to explain this adequately, I'm going to have to go into a little bit more detail and cook your noodle a little bit. Infinite numbers have 2 possibilities: potential infinite and actual infinite. Potential infinite are numbers in a series where numbers are constantly getting added. For example, think of a stopwatch. When you start the watch, the numbers will be generated and one number will be added every second. These numbers are potentially infinite because if the stop button is never pressed, then the numbers will potentially go on forever. The reason why it is impossible for potential infinites to actually be infinite is because the numbers in the set are finite and are constantly adding new increment, thus never reaching infinity no matter how long the numbers are added. Actual infinites are sets of numbers to which no more numbers can be added because they already include an infinite amount of numbers. Actual infinites do not and cannot exist. So I'll give a few examples of what I mean to illustrate this. Think of a video store full of an infinite amount of action movies and an infinite amount of comedy movies. If all of the comedy movies are removed, the library has just as many movies as it previously did. Let us use this logic to demonstrate how time had to have a beginning and is not eternal. We know that there is a now. Because there is a now, time cannot be infinite. Here's why. Think of now as a destination, a train station. Then think of time as a train on tracks that are infinitely long, heading towards the destination of now. If you were a passenger on that train, how long would it take you to get to now? Forever. The reason for this is because you can never reach the end of infinity. The train would be driving forever. However, We are at now, so the tracks must not be infinitely long, otherwise we would never get to there. There cannot be an infinite number of past moments prior to the present moment. Time cannot be an actual infinite, thus it had to have a beginning. Now, conclusion or premises 3. The universe had a cause. This cause had to be outside of the universe and is not affected by it. An uncaused first cause. This is the being that we call God. Now, I understand that this argument can seem really hard to grasp at first, because you go into infinites and you go into philosophy, and it takes a lot of brain power. And there's even many more details to go into that I didn't touch on here. Now, here is where I would differ on some Christians on this argument. Some of them, William Lane Craig included, J.P. Moreland, they will assert that because of these three premises, that means that the being, the uncaused first cause, must be personal. Now, I disagree with that. I agree with them that the premises point to a God who's outside of time and space, but I disagree that it has to be personal. I believe in a personal God, for sure. I just think there are other ways that you would go about proving that this God is personal. Now, the reason I don't think the Kalam argument leads to a personal God is because a God doesn't have to be personal to just create the universe. Because remember, deists believe in a God who just wound up the universe and let it spin, just created it and let it do its thing. And so a deist who would agree with this argument that a God created everything wouldn't necessarily agree that it had to be personal. And so I believe that just because a God created it, the universe, doesn't mean he has to be personal. I would go for other arguments to prove the personality of God. So anyway, I know this is a lot of information and we're just scratching the surface of this. This video is not meant to be, it's apologetic in nature, where I'm explaining one of the cosmological arguments, and there are many of those, from atheist to Christian to Hindu, whatever. But this video is not meant to be a video where I answer, well, Richard Dawkins says this, or whatever atheist says that, a Christian says this. How do we answer if an argument is presented this way? I'll make another video on that. But in this one specifically, I just wanted to go over the argument and what it is and its three premises. I do believe that this argument proves that there is a God who is outside of time, space, and matter, a timeless, spaceless, and immaterial God. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and eventually I will get around to doing the 4-hour-long 10 Commandments movie. I think that would be my third Is It Biblical just on the Exodus story. I love that story, but it's getting kind of redundant. I think that'll be the last one I do on that, but it's such a famous movie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely check out my website. My wife and I run it, and we upload articles all the time, and all of our YouTube videos go on that. We're doing a lot of big changes to it in 2021, adding a lot of stuff. It's whoislikeyouministries.org, and you can check out my Twitter as well, at whoislikeyoumin. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.